Hello one and all, and welcome to a brand new series on the channel. This is the scenario challenge. What I'm going to be doing is basically taking a star performance from real life on this occasion the Hungarian Grand Prix that happened a few days ago, and we're going to try and replicate a performance from a driver in real life. So that's what we're going to be getting into. We'll be doing a 25% race with conditions as similar as possible to the actual real life race in Hungary. So we're going to get into it. Let's take a look and see what our first scenario is. So with that settled, let's get into it. So here we are then, on the grid at Hungary. It's going to be a wet to dry race to mimic the conditions in real life. So here we go, starting third on the grid. Of course, now building up to 5 lights. And we're away for our first episode of the scenario challenge. We get a really nice start line. We already jump ahead of Max Verstappen now in the slipstream of Lewis Hamilton, barreling down towards the first corner. I'm going to jump out to the outside slightly. Verstappen braking very late on my outside. Of course, they've got to try and look for traction off this first corner. Little bit of a slide, little bit of a tail kicking out there, but we're able to just about keep it in P2. Hamilton's already breaking away up in first, but we've gained a position off the start. We only need fourth, of course, so at the moment it's looking just fine, but we still have a long 25% race ahead of us. We got to dig in here. Now, of course, we're in a slower car than most of the guys around us. It's going to be difficult. You can see we have to really push it through turn 4, getting a little bit sideways, a little bit of oversteer of the car, kicking out, but we've just got to control it, got to drive through it and just push this thing to its limits over the curves of the chicane. And yeah, it's just a massive fight to stay in position. Hamilton, you can see he's stretching his legs out in front there in that absolutely serene Mercedes car. But we are holding our own pretty well still up in position 2. I'm not going to worry too much about Hamilton. He can sort of do his own thing. We've just got to focus on keeping Verstappen and the rest of the cars behind us behind. The advantage that we have is that it's very difficult to overtake at this track, and with the wake effect that happens in the wet, it's going to be even tougher for these guys to work their way past. Of course, no DRS as well, so we've got a lot of advantages our way to make sure we can just keep this position. It was power out to end lap 1. We have gained a position on this first lap. It's looking good in P2, still keeping up with Hamilton actually, and we're gapping Verstappen behind us, so we're looking pretty good so far, but there's a little mistake there. Of course, we've got to just focus on our traction there, not making too many errors. You can see I'm struggling to get the power down here because I'm pushing. I'm absolutely driving the wheels off this car, but of course it can lead to a couple of errors sneaking in, and all of a sudden that gap to Hamilton begins to grow and the gap behind us to Verstappen begins to disappear. Of course, rain is going to die out earlier. You can already see it's a little bit lighter than it was at the start, so it will be drying off relatively soon, and we've just got to try and hold her on up here. A couple of laps later on lap 4, you can see that the rain is almost completely stopped. It's definitely beginning to die off. The gap to Hamilton is out to 2.4 seconds. It's not been going up that much, only a few tenths a lap, and the cars behind are still with us, but it's not looking too bad for us. In fact, there we've not really come under any major pressure from Verstappen. He's just sort of hanging back at the moment, but you can see there's a clear dry line emerging. The track is definitely on its way to slick conditions. Now, moving forward, you can see that traction out of turn 1, having to fight the car, keep it on the island, but it's looking pretty nice. We've just got to try and keep it steady, no mistakes, and just take the right lines. You can see another big snap going through turn 3 and almost completely losing the car. We put an overtake, so Verstappen stays back there in third place. We're hanging on for the time being, but these Inters are losing grip and losing grip fast, so we've got to try and keep it together. You can see as they begin to warm up, the grip is fading away, and on lap 6 you can see the track is almost completely dried out, and you can see we're fighting the car even more than in 6th gear while wheel spinning, so it is right on the edge of grip and it is ready to go in. So Jeff is suggesting a new strategy, going on to medium tyres for the end, and we're going to accept that straight away. We don't want to be messing around. We need to get back in the pits, get off these tyres, because we're fighting the car so much throughout this circuit. Round turn 12, you can see the car snapping in 5th gear yet again and again. just trying to keep this thing in a straight line. Hamilton now 3 seconds ahead. Verstappen still with us, Bottas as well, but Albon's dropped a little bit off the back, so it's looking alright. DRS is enabled as well, and actually some of the cars behind are actually going to suffer. Bottas has to stay out another lap because Hamilton's in, and Albon has actually gone in behind us, so he is actually going to get stacked behind his teammate Max Verstappen. And you can see Hamilton there is having to wait. If you see, look at the minimap, he's had to wait for those Ferrari cars, so we just need a decent enough pit stop. It's 3 seconds, and we are actually right now into a net race lead because Hamilton's been held up big time in the pits. It's just Verstappen that's with me, Leclerc behind that, and with just Bottas and Kvyat who are going to be so slow, with struggling for grip on those inter tyres on a track that's pretty much dry at this point then, so we can reel them in pretty quickly. But now, of course, what's going to be the challenge ahead is now in the dry conditions, whole different ball game. Of course, the other drivers that may be struggling a little bit more for grip on that wet track are now going to be a little bit more competitive with me now in the dry, where their car advantage can really come into play. So the challenge is not over yet as we close up on the inter-tired Kvyat, and you can see how quickly we close them down. We've caught 3 seconds on Bottas this lap, so he is looking even more vulnerable as he immediately dives into the pits. We'll be comfortably clear of him, so we will jump up surely into the lead of this race. Then after that we just have to hold on. Of course, now DRS is going to be in play as well, so it's going to be a challenge to keep Verstappen behind. He's been on our tail the whole way through and not really had a shot overtaking, but now he has that in his sights. P1 it is for us now on a lap 8, but we still have a pack of cars to chase us down on faster cars. You can see as Verstappen gearing up a little move. We go a bit defensive in the turn 2, precautionary, because we know Verstappen can throw a move down the inside when he really feels like it, but we hold on to P1 just for the time being. We see him having a little gearing up on us there. He's sitting right on my rear end. Now that it's dry, he's so much more free to push and stay right on my rear end, and keeping him behind is becoming more and more of a challenge. The cars behind Verstappen may still be in range as well. There's still a long way to go in this race, so we gotta keep moving. You can see now Verstappen gets a great run on the straight there. It's gonna go around the outside, but we're gonna brake very, very late. Try and keep him behind. Do everything in our power to keep cars between ourselves and that critical 4th place, but there's nothing we can do on traction. Verstappen goes steaming around the outside and up into that race lead. So now we just got to focus on maybe staying in his DRS. He's so much quicker though. You can see already he's pulling away, and we've used a lot of overtake trying to keep him behind, so it's not looking too positive for us. We've got to try and keep pushing, but it's so difficult. You can see I'm using as much of the curb as I can, but our rear wing has got issues. We have a DRS failure, so that's going to throw out any chance of keeping with Verstappen. Surely now our rear wing, it will not be able to open, and we will not have access to the drag reduction system. So on to lap 10 now, running a little bit wide. You've got yellows up ahead, and that's because on the last lap Valtteri Bottas had a car failure, which is absolutely huge. That's so critical. That's just one car ticked off the list that's not going to be able to chase us down. So we've got Leclerc, who is still very much in range, but everyone else is a little bit far away there. Hamilton's still there, but I got an 8-second gap to Albon with 8 laps left to go, and he's the critical position there, down in 5th place. We do not want to be getting to that. Verstappen's pulling away quite quickly. Leclerc is reeling us in as well, so we are coming under more and more of a threat from behind and less to the front. So we've got to get looking over our shoulder very soon, because Charles Leclerc and company are coming. And on lap 14 they are here. Leclerc is in my DRS, Hamilton is in Leclerc's DRS, and Albon is catching, so it could be very tight by the end of this if we're not able to keep these guys behind. We've got to try and pull out everything now. Exit off the last corner is critical every single lap, so we don't fall into victim from that faster Ferrari behind us. We've got decent enough straight line speed, and that can work for now, but it's not going to last forever. That buffer may disappear at some point. Leclerc is so close coming out of turn 1, and he's going to go to the outside towards turn 2. We brake very late, get it all locked up just to keep him on that outside line, keep him on a rear wheel and force him to back off, and that puts Hamilton up and alongside him and to the inside towards turn 4, and he is now ahead on the mini-map. So Hamilton is now up in a P3, and he's the next driver who's going to be challenging us then. So an intimidating presence of the 6-time world champion is going to be bearing down on us on every DRS straight, then going into turn 1, going into turn 2, and potentially going towards turn 4. You can see as he has a pretty decent run at us there, where he's just going to have to send him behind for now. We're on lap 16 and keeping him behind. The gap to Verstappen's 8 seconds, so he's well and truly out of sight. Look at that, 3 laps to go, 3 seconds to Albon. It's right on target. He could be right there by the end of this race, so we cannot afford mistakes. We have to keep it clean to try and pass the scenario. P4 is the target, remember, as Hamilton closes down on us, down the main straight and to the outside there. We break late as well to stay alongside him, clip the curb on the inside, but he's still there on the outside. We match him for traction, got that overtake going, but he's got the DRS and he pulls ahead, but we break very late right on the outside of turn 2. Can we pull that one off there? Get the inside for turn 3, force him to back off, and we retake P2 then on the penultimate lap. He's going to try and squeeze his way around the outside, and we cut him off there. He is not pulling that move off then, trying to embarrass us, but we just about keep him behind. Albon is almost there. He's caught more than a second on this last lap, and we've got just under 2 laps to go now, just over 1 lap to go. We've just got to try and keep it together now. We should be fine unless we make an error, but of course errors can always be made under pressure, and pressure we're under now as Hamilton goes to the outside on the last lap. We break extremely late to stay alongside him there, going everything we can, but he's so good on the traction and we can't fight it. It's futile now to defend, so Hamilton into P2. We're back into P3, but all we need is P4, and we got Leclerc and Albon now on our rear wing, looking to try and take any opportunity to pass me, and we just have to make sure that every go they have is cut off, is subdued, and we can keep this P3, and all we need is P4, but we want that podium. We get massive oversteer off of turn 5, we defend it into the chicane, not giving any opening. More traction issues there, the tyres are starting to go off there. We're struggling for grip on this last lap, but we just have to keep it on the road, on the island there, as we got 2 intimidating young talents bearing down on us with just a couple of corners to go. Leclerc to the outside, we cover it off into the braking zone at 13 there. Use the curb on the outside there. Again, he has a drive to the outside. We squeeze him onto the curb there. Verstappen wins the race. Hamilton will be second. Will we be third then? Going into the last corner now. It should be good now. We just need to get a good exit. No dramas. And we get on the throttle nicely. And we're going to pass the first episode of Scenario Challenge P3 in the Hungarian Grand Prix. That was a blast to drive there. The wet conditions, we were brilliant. And in the dry, we just about hung on in there, and it is 3rd place in the Hungarian Grand Prix for Lance Stroll, and so we passed the scenario. We exceeded what Stroll managed in real life. There is great performance to finish P4, but we have managed it. We come through, and that is going to be it then for our first episode of the Scenario Challenge. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content from me, still uploading almost daily. So hopefully you enjoyed that one then, and yeah, without much more to say, until next time, we'll see you later.